Hello programmers! We're going to review some loop concepts that we learned in C and see that they still will work in C++. So I'm going to start with a while loop. I'm going to check to see, does someone want to hear the greeting again? So I'll start out and say they need to hear it once. So again starts out as Y. While this is true, while again is still equal to Y, we're going to go inside the loop. And then it'll say howdy, and then do you want to hear the greeting again? So when I run this, it's going to say howdy, and then do you want to hear the greeting again? I can say Y, and it'll go in the loop again because that statement is still true. Again is still Y. And I can try it again, and then when I get bored, I can just say no, and then I'm out of the loop. So the while loop can become an infinite loop if this condition is never false. So a beginning programmer mistake would be to have a while loop where this variable never changes. And if you run this, you're going to see that it's going to say howdy infinitely, and there is no chance to get out of this loop. It's just going to keep going, and if we remember, Control C is going to sometimes exit out of this in Visual Studio. Let's see. Okay, Control C worked, and then we can press any key to continue. So saying that this has to be true to go into the loop, well, it could be a Boolean expression like equal equal, are things equivalent, less than or equal to, greater than or equal, or you can actually have any non-zero value here, and that will also be an infinite loop. So this would be an infinite loop, this would be an infinite loop, even a negative number. Anything that's not zero is true in C and C++, so this will be an infinite loop that never stops. It'll go into the loop and not exit. So that was while loops, and there's also do while loops. So we can switch this around a little bit and say we want to do something at least once, and we will check the condition at the end. And so while, and it would really be nice if this isn't an infinite loop, but if I wanted it to be an infinite loop, I have anything that's true inside of here. What other kind of loops can we use? Well, there's also a for loop in C++, so we could do something like, we'll have a counter and we want to go through a loop 5 times maybe. So a for loop's a good choice if you know in advance how many times you want to go through the loop. And I could say the counter is going to start out at 1, and in the for loop, the first part's usually used for initialization. The second part of the for loop is going to be evaluated, and as long as it's true, we'll keep going through the for loop. So while our number is less than or equal to 5, well, and I'm going to use the variable num, and then the last part is usually going to be incrementing or decrementing a counter so that we don't end up with an infinite loop, so that at some point this true expression will become false. So in here, I'll just add 1 each time, so the count will go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then stop. So here I'm just going to print out, we'll just print out our count. All right, let's run this and verify that we see 1 through 5 coming up on the screen. And that's what we see. So if somebody made an expression here that was always going to be true, so if the count is greater than 0 or something, well, if it starts out greater than 0 and you're adding 1 every time, then this is another way to get into one of those infinite loops. All right, that's enough of a refresher on the loops that are available to you in C++, so I'll stop the lecture here.